If you're reading the title of this video, you're probably thinking Matt bought a Prius and he wears Birkenstocks all day. Well, maybe I did. Hey, what's going on? It's Matt. It has been a super long time, and this is going to be a video that deviates from pretty much the whole concept of this channel. And I'm not going to make a habit of doing this, so don't get worried, but I want to talk about something I did at the beginning of January. And that was go plant-based and go vegan, and I want to share my experience that I had with it. Now, let's kind of start on how it all started. I am on a group text with a bunch of guys that I went to high school with, close buddies. I've known them for a long time. They reside all throughout the country, and two of those guys happen to be hardcore plant-based guys. My buddy Mark, who happens to live in LA, runs like organizations that, I think an advertising agency now, where he's actually promoting plant-based stuff. And my friend David, who resides in Florida, literally is one of the most intelligent people I know. He's also one of the healthiest people I know. He has been since high school, and his whole family is plant-based. And we were doing a lot of talking or reminiscing over some texts, and what ended up happening was that I have a lot of joint problems. A lot of that's from Lyme's disease. I will probably never talk about that on this channel, but I have had Lyme's disease 6 times. The first time I ever had it was arthritic Lyme, and it was when I was 15 years old, and it was really serious. I was hospitalized for it. If you're not familiar with what Lyme's disease is, I'm not going to get into it. But they basically told me that when I got older, I'd have kind of rheumatoid arthritis, and it's kind of a centralized rheumatoid arthritis. A lot of you don't know this that watch the fishing videos, but a lot of people that have fished with me have known this. For the last almost 2 years, I've hobbled, really. I've kind of really had like this kind of like funky walk because my left hip has been so destroyed. I haven't been able to hike, I haven't been able to ski, and I put on weight. And thankfully I've been able to take off 30 pounds in the last like 3 months to where things are getting better. But so going back to how I got into this plant-based thing. So my buddy Mark and my buddy Dave were like, you need to go plant-based. And we suggest that you watch this documentary called Game Changers. Game Changers is on Netflix. It's supposedly one of the most highly watched, Netflix documentaries about going plant-based. I think it was funded by Arnold Schwarzenegger. It talks about plant-based athletes and how they've changed their diet and how it's changed them, and the reduction of inflammation and everything. So there was a challenge that occurred during the documentary that was a 7-day challenge, and this plant-based guru guy went into a firehouse in New York City, took all these guys' blood pressures that were firemen, blood pressures, cholesterol, all this stuff. And most of these guys were like on some sort of like, statin or some sort of heart medicine because, they weren't necessarily all out of shape, but they just ate really poorly. And he challenged them to do a 7-day plant-based or just vegan diet. And he took all the numbers, and at the end of that week, some of those guys' numbers dropped so drastically that they were off their statins. Their doctors were amazed by it, and I was like, that's kind of interesting. So I texted everybody in the group from my high school buddies, and I was like, I'm gonna do the 7-day challenge. And I was like, it can't be that hard. And so I did it, and I wanna explain to you, kind of what my experience was with it. Now for me, it wasn't that difficult. I eat a ton of beans and rice in my diet anyways. I really don't eat red meat anymore, and that wasn't a conscious choice. I literally just kind of lost the taste for it. It was one of these things about 6 or 7 months ago where I was sick and tired of having a bad steak in restaurants in Sacramento, and because I'm used to good steaks from New York City, where I used to live for a long time. And I was like, this just sucks. It's not really doing anything for me. So I kind of just slowly kind of took red meat out of my diet. Like I said, it wasn't a conscious effort. I just really wasn't enjoying red meat anymore. And I happen to be a big cheese eater and a big egg eater, and I don't drink regular milk, I drink almond milk. So when I looked at my diet as it was standing before I started the vegan diet, I was like, this is gonna be easy because, I don't have that much dairy or meat in my diet right now. Now, granted, at the time I was having like a turkey sandwich for lunch every day, and I was having, you know, chicken breast or rice or broccoli every night for dinner. So I was trying to think, how can I do this to where it would be the easiest? And so I'm just going to break down kind of for you like what I did. So I obviously cut everything dairy and meat out of my, you know, all the chicken and stuff like that out of my diet. And I just replaced everything with more fruits and veggies. Now, you know, I really wasn't eating enough fruits and veggies to begin with. And I knew that. And so I have been a big advocate of taking vegetable powders for a long time because I know I don't get that nutrient. So I went to online and I got some stuff, and I got more veggie packets, and I picked up some more multivitamins. I picked up all this stuff that I thought that I might lose from not eating just the chicken really and the turkey that I had almost on a daily basis. So day one, this is kind of how it went down. Instead of having eggs for breakfast, I did overnight oats. If you're not familiar with overnight oats, it's super simple. It's actually really healthy for you. All you really need to do is just get a container that has a lid on it. I was using mason jars. Fill it up halfway or how long ever you want with steel cut oats, and then throw some almond milk over that and put it in the fridge and let it sit overnight. And by the next morning, it's like kind of mushy and it's already kind of like cooked, but it's cold. Throw some peanut butter in there and throw a banana on top of it, and it's super filling. And it will keep you kind of stacked all day. And, you know, sometimes I wasn't even eating lunch because that was so filling in the morning. But, you know, breakfast was really the easiest part. And if I didn't do that, I'd have a bowl of cereal, like a bowl of Cheerios and some avocado toast. And that was a really big staple that became in my diet when I did this for 7 days. Was avocado, it just became paramount. You know, rice was always paramount in my diet, and beans were kind of really solid in my diet already as a source of protein. But I really just kind of increased my beans and rice intake. So for lunch for a couple of days, I did a red beans and rice and a black beans and rice, and I mixed in avocado. Because typically when I used to make that meal for lunch for red beans and rice or black beans and rice, I would put in some like really good like, you know, cheese, and I'd mix it in the rice. It becomes like this cheesy rice. It's super good. If you're a big fan of like that kind of stuff, try it. Obviously, if you're trying to do this vegan thing, you can't do that. But so day one was pretty simple. For dinner, I actually did that first night, I did a hummus pasta, which is literally just cooking pasta. And I did a whole wheat pasta, and I basically just threw in some hummus, and it was actually super tasty. I've actually done that meal again since I stopped doing the vegan. You know, I'm gonna tell you, I'm still not doing this vegan thing. I did it for about 8 days. So that was day one. Not really that difficult. And kind of like day two was kind of rinse, wash, and repeat. But something kind of really occurred that was really kind of shocking to me. And it's going to be not graphic. I'm not going to keep it graphic. I'm just going to be like very honest. Like, I got so freaking gassy. It was painful. Like, the amount of gas that was in my system at the time was just, it hurt. And then all the fiber increase that I had, because for a snack, I was having like an apple with peanut butter if I was super hungry, or just a regular apple. And like everything just started kind of moving. And oddly enough, if you follow Joe Rogan's been doing the all carnivore diet. And I remember on day 3, he was like on day 6 or something like that, that I was doing the vegan part and he was doing the carnivore. And I looked on his Instagram and he was like, the word explosive diarrhea does not do justice to what's going on out of my ass right now. And I kind of chuckled because, one, I was reading it while I was taking a shit, but like I was going to the bathroom so frequently. I mean, it was like, usually, you know, like it was like probably anywhere from 8 to like 11 times a day, and it was not solid. And so I was kind of a little worried about everything. I was like, oh, you know, is this normal? And what ended up happening was I texted my buddies who are vegan, and they were just like, it's completely normal. Your body's just kind of adjusting and getting rid of all these toxins. Now, this went on for the full 8 days with me, you know, really from day 2 until day 8. It made it almost impossible for me to go to the gym. You know, I couldn't really work out because I was like, oh man, if I don't know what's going to happen if I lift or if I get on the elliptical or I do some sort of cardio. So that was really kind of the big negative experience that I had with everything. And I didn't really miss cheese, and I really didn't miss the chicken or the turkey. One thing that I'd made a commitment not to do was I didn't do any of that synthetic meat crap, because I think when a lot of people, when I watched on YouTube, they did these 7-day challenges, they were going out and buying like the, you know, the artificial or the vegan version of burgers, and, you know, they weren't really they were all processed stuff. And what I didn't want to do is put processed food in my body, because that would be pointless, because I don't care what your diet is. I don't care what you eat. If you can stay away from processed foods, you will feel so much better. It's not even funny. I make it a point not to feed my daughter a lot of processed foods. I make chicken fingers from scratch for her. I make sure I know what I'm putting into her body as much as I possibly can. Obviously, for lunch, she has Doritos. I have chips. There's stuff that I just will never probably get out of my diet completely that's not processed. But that's just kind of one thing that I will tell everybody is that I don't care if you're a vegan or you're a vegetarian or you're just carnivore or you're just whatever or complete dairy based. I don't know why anybody would do that. But if you take processed foods out of your diet, I firmly believe that you will feel 100% better. So kind of going back to my experiences, one of the things I also suffer from is insomnia. Like, we're not talking like, oh, I can't fall asleep. We're talking like I drink these sleep drinks, and sometimes I will take like Tylenol PM to fall asleep. And I have a very active brain, not during the day, but like, because I'm working and I'm kind of concentrating on other things. But like once I put my head down, even if I'm exhausted, I somehow just wake up and I just it kind of ruminates, and I just kind of get these really, bad thoughts, not necessarily like bad thoughts, but just like repeating thoughts. It's like a song that you can't get out of your head. And so I've always had trouble sleeping. I thought this would help with my sleeping. I also suffer from restless leg syndrome. God, I sound like a mess. I kind of thought that this would all kind of help all this stuff out. Now, granted, I only did it for 8 days. I only did the vegan stuff for 8 days. I tell you what I learned out of everything. One, I learned that I don't eat enough fruit. Just a fruit. I'm not talking about vegetables. I usually have vegetables like once a day, and I do drink the vegetable powder and stuff like that. But like, I did learn that I don't eat enough fruit, and my palate changed a little at the end of that 8 days to where like I was actually craving apples and I was craving grapes. I don't eat strawberries. I'm not a big berry guy, but like I was craving these things, and I was just like, okay, that's actually a really positive thing, and it's actually continued to occur right now. One of the other things that really has changed over the last 8 days, I've been gone for a real long time. Like I said, nobody's checked on me yet, jerks. I'm joking. But one of the things that's actually happened is that like I've kind of almost cut eggs out of my diet as well, and I've cut back even more on the cheese intake, which is interesting to me because like I was kind of losing my taste for these kind of things to begin with, but this kind of really pushed me a little bit farther. Now, I did monitor my weight. I did monitor my blood pressure. My blood pressure, was super low at the end of 8 days. I went to one of those things at CVS and put my arm in the cuff. And I know typically where my blood pressure is at. It was lower. I don't know how nominally lower it was, but I did feel a little bit better. I didn't feel drained or like lack of energy or anything like that because of the multivitamins and things that I was taking. And really, honestly, at the end of the day, like my diet's just changed completely. So it was an interesting experiment. Now, that was 3 weeks ago. I have been sick. I mean, we're talking like, that was what Chris mentioned on his video the other day. We're talking like deathbed sick. Started off with prototypical fever, flu kind of symptoms. I coughed so hard the second week that I had it, I lost my voice. You can still kind of hear I'm a little bit raspy. Third week, like it was just this cough that would not go away. And interestingly enough, like I don't attribute that to the veganism or the plant-based stuff, but like I felt like my body at the end of the 8 days, like I wasn't tired, but I did feel like a little bit like kind of drained. And because I wasn't going to the gym as much because I was nervous I was going to shit my pants, essentially I think that like my immune system just had dropped. My daughter got sick. I gave it back to her. She got better. I gave it back to her. She gave it to her mom. Her mom gave it back to her. Like it's been going back and forth because, I'm a single parent, and when I have my daughter and she's sick and I send her back to her mother's house, because we split 50-50, essentially like it goes back and forth. Like one of us gets better, the other one gets sick. So we're trying to all get healthier right now, and I think all of us are on the end of it. But I wanted to talk about this just real briefly because it was something that I tried, and like I was joking before, I'm not going vegan. I did change my diet. It did change the way that I view things. I probably will never, if I do something like that again, I probably will never go from like, I'll ease a little bit more into it just simply for the fact of the gastrointestinal effects that I had from it. But that's about it. I am going to make another video, probably put it out on Friday, And I'm going to talk about the direction of this channel. And I'm going to talk about how my situation in life right now is not going to allow me to fish as much. So we're going to incorporate some things that used to be on this channel, like gear reviews and some hiking and hopefully some skiing, because my hip is feeling pretty good now. And I don't attribute that to the veganism. I attribute that more to the weight loss and the excessive exercise that I have been doing. So thanks for watching these things. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to try the vegan challenge, check out, I think it's called the Engine, I want to say this, Engine 7 or Engine 12. But check out the documentary Changemakers, or Game Changers, sorry, on Netflix, if you have Netflix, obviously. And check it out. It's pretty cool, it's pretty insightful. And the guy who actually did it has been on Rogan's podcast. They've gone at it. The guy's very cool. He's not one of these guys that are just like, you're wrong. Rogan is still doing his meat-based carnivore diet, and I think his gastrointestinal stuff had kind of cleared up. So I think when you do stuff like this, like what I was getting ready to say was that when you do something, you kind of need to ease into it. You can't just do it because your body's just like, what the heck is this? It's like almost like if you were like, I don't know, started using drugs, and your body like, oh, what's this? Drugs, and so anyway, I will talk to you again soon. Thanks for watching these things, and see you later. Bye.